What is up, YouTube? This is your boy Armaret, bringing you episode 2 of Hearthstone 101. In this episode, I go into card abilities. It is in understanding and mastering these abilities that you can snatch victory from the hands of almost certain defeat. So what is an ability? Abilities are the written text on a card that may alter the normal flow of a gameplay. Most cards have abilities ranging from the mundane to dramatic in order to give a uniqueness to the feel of each card in the game and also to provide some variety in the game. There are main abilities, and then there are additional abilities. This episode is going to focus mainly on the main abilities, with the next issue to come is going to be on the additional, which are going to be the more advanced one. So let's start off with the most common and basic ability, and that is Battlecry. The Battlecry ability triggers when a card is put into play. This is the most basic and broad of our abilities. These abilities range from buffs and debuffs, and returning cards to the player's hands, adding or subtracting health, or etc. It's a wide variety. It's simply saying, I play the ability activates when I play, or whatever effect is going to happen activates when you play the card. No other circumstances are required, you just got to play it. The next ability is the charge ability. It gives minions the ability to attack on the turn that they are summoned. These cards are useful when trying to clear and take control of the board, or when trying to end a duel. Now, the thing to remember, whenever you play a card, you cannot attack on the turn for which it is played unless it has this charge ability. The next one is the Choose One. Now, Choose Ones are interesting. It gives the minion 2 abilities when played, and you choose which one you want to use. Seems simple enough. These cards are usually high in crystal to summon. One option is usually offensive, while the other is mainly defensive. And I'll give you an example. You can get +5 attack or +5 health with Taunt. Or maybe a card you can draw 2 cards or restore 5 healths. So it really makes you make a tough decision right then and there. But usually the choice is obvious in the duel at the given time, which one is the better option to take at the time. The next one is the combo cards. And these can be a bit more confusing to the new players to understand. But the key to the combo cards is to remember that the combo card effect triggers only after you play another card first. So if it's a brand new round and you have a card in your hand that says deal 1 damage or combo deal 2 damage, as long as you play any card, any hero power, anything in that turn, when you play that combo card, you're going to get the combo effect, and you can stack multiple combos. So if you have 2 combo cards, if I play my hero power and then the first combo, I could play the second combo. Or if I have 2 combo cards in my hand, I could play the first one. It won't get the combo effect, but the second one will get the combo effect. So make sure you play those in the proper order. Next is Deathrattle. Deathrattle ability triggers when the minion is destroyed. And the most common of these is the Hover Skull, that when it dies it gives you a 2/1 token, or the Lepo Gnome, that when it dies it does 2 damage to the enemy hero. So Deathrattle is, as the name implies, minion dies, has an effect that is brought on. The death can either be by your hands or your opponent's. It really doesn't matter. The only key is that the card is actually destroyed. Next up is Divine Shield. The Divine Shield ability can honestly be one of the most annoying abilities in the game. And the ability states that the next time a creature affected by Divine Shield would take damage, ignore it. So having a monster equip the Divine Shield can assist in getting a free kill or help with board clearing spells. The best way to deal with these cards is usually to attack with a low level minion, or with a spell that affects multiple targets to clear the shield away. Usually when I'm using a mage deck, I'll use my two crystals to use a little fire blast on it and take the shield right away. Like I said, these can be really tricky, especially when you're playing against usually a paladin or a health deck that really stacks these on here. It really makes you focus on taking out the shields before you can take out the cards. Next is Enrage. This is an ability that gives a bonus if the minion is injured, but the bonus is, and this is the key part, is lost if the minion is healed back to full health. Unlocking the Enrage bonuses are most commonly gained by attacking your opponent's lower attack minions. Additional methods include the Mage's Fire Blast, or any number of direct damage spells or minion effects like Shiver or Elven Ultra. So if you remember Elven Ultra, if you play, It does 1 damage to any minion. You can choose your Enrage ability. The minion that has Enrage in your game does effects. Some Enrage effects include +2 health, +2 health in charge, Windfury. So use those carefully, because remember, you are going to take some damage, and once you try to heal that card, you're going to lose that effect. So be kind of smart about how you play it. The next one is Freeze. Freeze does pretty much as the name implies. It freezes a minion, so therefore they cannot attack in the next turn. Now, if you freeze the hero may not attack in the next turn, but they can activate the hero power. So think about that one, because if you freeze a mage, they could still use the Fire Blast, but they can't attack you if they had a weapon equipped. This ability is great for stalling stronger cards, or here's the catch: like I said, if the enemy hero has a weapon, you can actually use the freeze on them and actually lock that card down. So usually freezes are meant to stall the opponent out and to buy yourself more time to figure out how to deal with the stronger cards you're going up against. Next is the Overload. Overload reduces the amount of mana you have available during your next turn by the number stated. So in other words, turn A with 5 crystals. My next turn I would naturally have 6 crystals. But let's just say I use a card that has an overload of 2. I'd start with 6 and subtract 4. I only have 4 crystals this turn. Usually, the overload ability is attached to incredibly strong cards with a low cost, so it is a self-inflicting damage. But if you use it early on, or if you use it smart enough, it's easy to kind of come back from it, and the overload only lasts for 1 turn. So the very next turn, in the example that I gave, I'd actually have 7 crystals, no ill effects. The next one is the secret cards, and these are similar to trap cards in almost any other TCG that you're used to. The card with the secret ability is placed face down, with its effects triggering when a certain condition is fulfilled. But here's the catch though: you cannot choose when a secret is activated, and because of this, try and bait out destructive secrets by attacking with weaker minions first. You have secrets out there that allow you to copy the enemy next enemy card that's played. So if you have a paladin and you summon the 1/1 token, the silver, then that secret's actually going to take effect and copy that, and then you can play your strong card after that. So whenever possible, if you see a secret, try to bait it with weaker cards. Up next is Silence. Silence removes a minion's card text and eliminates any other effects present on that card. However, if you silence a minion, you can later apply a new ability to it. So if a minion is silenced, you can still buff it, including buffs that come from other minions such as Direwolf Alpha, whose +1 attack to adjacent minions will renew immediately. So essentially what this says is, if I have a card and I silence it, all the abilities, all the effects on that card are nullified. However, I can then additionally add buffs on top of it. So the silence is a one-time deal, so you kind of have to play it sparingly. A lot of times these are used if in a situation where it has Deathrattle, so like Harvest Golems, Leopards. If you're in a situation where they have, let's just say, 4 life left and an 8/8 Taunt on the field, and I've got a level 4 card in my hand, I may play a minion that has silence the taunt, and then just attack the enemy directly for the win. So the silence, as of at this point, is not as strong as it would like to be, but they've hinted in the new expansion that's going to come out that silence is going to play a bigger role going forward. Next up is Stealth. Stealth is when a minion is summoned and they cannot be attacked or targeted by spell or hero powers until it attacks. So let me explain that. The stealth creature goes on in the field, it cannot be targeted by anything whatsoever until you choose to attack. So if I summon it on turn 1 and the game goes 30 turns and I never attack with that card is unaffected by everything, including silence, for 30 turns. It's pretty powerful. These cards are great when going up against card destruction decks, or when a minion casts buffs at the end or beginning of each turn, such as in the case of a Blood Imp, which gives +1 health as long as it's on the field, but it's stealth, so as long as you never attack, you can continue buffing this +1 healths. Next up is Spell Power. The Spell Power ability increases the damage done by other spells that you play. These cards work great in mage decks. Having one of these cards can turn a 6 damage fireball into a 7+ fireball for each spell power ability card active. And a popular combo you see is 2 +1 spell power cards and then 2 fireballs, and what that will give you is roughly 16 damage in 1 turn, or over half of the enemy's health in just 1 turn. So they can be very powerful. So if you're running a mage deck or a straight spell damage deck, you want to make sure you can keep these spell power ability cards active. Up next is the summon ability. It allows you to create a creature under your control with specific specs. Many of these cards are tied to either Deathrattle or Battlecry, like in the instance of Harvest Golem, or in the very popular Leroy Jenkins, in which when you summon Leroy Jenkins, it's a 6/2 card with charge, which if you remember, charge means you can attack directly that turn, but in return for that, you summon 2 1/1 tokens to the enemy's side of the field. So the summonings can happen on yours, or it can be happening on the other person, so you have to read that card carefully. Up next is the Taunt cards, and I kind of alluded to these earlier. Taunt cards are some of the most useful and life-saving cards in the game. A minion with Taunt forces the enemy attacking you to choose that card first. Minions can taunt or can be given Taunt ability via magic or Battlecry abilities. So the Taunt card can be the lifesaver that you desperately need, so you kind of want to hang on to them until you have to throw them out there to kind of give you that buffer between you and your opponent, because once they're gone, they can start attacking you directly. Up next is transforms, and these are some of the most frustrating things to deal with in the game. And transforming cards, you know, they're not minions, they can't attack you, but what they can do is transform a minion into something that's irreversible. So, and a good example of this is the Hex that turns any minion that you have into a 0/1 fog, with Taunt, or Polymorph that turns it into a 1/1 sheep. So remember, if you have stealth, it's not affected by transform. But anything else, it doesn't matter if it's the most powerful card in the game. If you have it, it transforms it, and even something like a silence cannot untransform it back into the card that you have. So these cards are actually a great way of attacking with high talc or high health enemy minions, but they can be incredibly frustrating if you're on the brunt end of it. And then finally, and lastly, the last main ability is Windfury. Simply put, this ability allows your minion to attack twice per turn. These cards are mainly used for minions, however, with cards like Doomhammer, you can actually apply this to your abilities here. Mixing Windfury with the attack buff or an Enrage will actually allow you to do maximum damage, so you can attack twice quickly. That's my time today. Hopefully you guys have learned a lot about the basic main abilities in the Hearthstone universe. Like I said, the next video coming out is going to be about the additional, the expert abilities. As always, remember to comment, like, favorite, and subscribe. Every little bit helps my channel. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, and as always, have a good day.